3D stuff? Like, what kind of challenges or kind of innovative stuff did you guys run into, doing the shifting worlds, as far as the 3D aspect?
I guess we wanted to have the mechanic to play a role in the gameplay, So we have that mechanic in shifting world when you squash the level. You have elements in the background, you squash the whole level and they come to the foreground. So we have that effect when there is an animation with using the 3D, when you have elements coming to the foreground. You see them moving in.
Because when it's 3D, you can't reach it, I guess. But when it's 2D, boom, it's like right next to you. Kind of
yeah.
That's
and
cool.
then it becomes elements of the level. So you have black blocks in the background. You move them to the foreground, then you can use them to traverse the level by shifting and all.
So how, from a design point of view, how did you approach that? I mean, because obviously there's the 3D level, which is pretty complex to build, but you have to make that work with 3D and 2D. Like, how did you design that? Did you design it on paper or kind of in a 3D program, or a mixture of the two, or?
Right down in the editor. We use an open source editor to build the levels, and just go and draw them in it, and using different layers.
Is it 3D editor? Like a geometry? A 3D editor?
No, it's just a tile editor, and then no programmer used build a program to build the levels.
So it's totally 2D when you're designing it. But
from a design point of view, just a tile thing.
Ah, cool.
So it was pretty easy to build. I mean, to make them, but then to build the puzzle around the environment stuff.
You have to kind of think, okay, this is going to be 3D, so I have to do this, and so there's a lot of trial and error playing it. And
a bit. Yeah, we have different versions. One version running on PC, so we can easily test them, and I guess you did the same thing for your game, right?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, with Mutant Mudds, like jumping from one layer to another, because each layer is a different scale. I had no idea where it was going to land. You would jump, and I couldn't predict that, so I had to kind of just put a dummy block back there, jump, go, nope, that didn't work, to the right, try again, no, that didn't work, too much. And every time there's a transition from the middle ground to the background or the foreground or whatever, every time I had to I'm just going to put it here and see if it works. And it was just trial and error, which is, maybe there's a smart way of doing that to do it better. But I couldn't think of a way to do it better. I think you just have to get in there sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
Just wrestle with it a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes the best solution to make a great game is just to find the right tools to be creative with.
Right.
And
if it works, right?
Exactly. I mean, as long as you can build something with it, like with our editor, we didn't need anything else. Just could make different layers to say, okay, this block is going to be in the background, this one in the foreground, and then play with it and build the level, draw it quickly, test it, and see, okay, it works, it doesn't work, let's try it again. Oh, I want to try that, when it's going to shift like that and that.
So that reminds me, and that's the key, is it's the quick turnaround, from the time where you do something in the editor to create the gameplay to the point where you can play it. That's key, that cycle.
Quick iteration.
Yeah, and a lot of games I've worked on in the past have had a very long cycle in that, and it's difficult. You kind of have to work around that. And I think sometimes that's the reality, especially if you're working on a big console game, and there's lots of assets and stuff to compile or whatever to kind of get it working. What I find I would have to do is, all right, I'll do 3 or 4 changes. Not on the same thing, but maybe I'll kind of make a list of things I want to change from the last time I played it. I'll make those changes, make the build, and then play it and kind of go, okay, and I have to make notes on each one because it just took so long to build. Mutant Mudds obviously wasn't that way. It was super quick, so that was nice. But and that's key.
Just build it, test it, and then iterate on it.
Exactly. Yeah, you just make the change. We made our own editor, and each layer. So the way it works, in the very background, it's the pure resolution of the 3DS. And the middle layer is 200%, and the foreground is 300%. So actually in the editor, they are scaled like that, and when you scroll around the editor, they kind of move in parallel, like they would in the game. So that was nice. And then actually, from a 3D perspective, 3D depth, we could say, hey, this layer is at this 3D depth, this layer is at this 3D depth, and set it per layer. So having that control over actual depth was pretty unique, I mean, I'd never done that before, where you can actually say, I'm going to make this, this much into the distance, and that was, it kind of makes it fun to make, it adds another layer, makes it fun to make the game, when you're kind of playing around with a new element.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it was cool.
And then the basic design was also I mean, coming up with it, you had it drawn and on paper from the startup before you started iterated on the game, or?
For Mudds, no, it was all. I use a program called Promotion, which is a 2D art program. So, and it's all grid based, you know, so I can pick up tiles and stuff on 8x8 grid or whatever. Yeah. And that's really quick because I can pick things up and slap things around and stuff like that. So I'd kind of create it in that and then import that into the editor. Okay. So that was kind of my sketchpad, was Promotion. It was like a digital sketchpad, I guess. And it could be as ugly or as good looking, didn't really matter, as long as the collision was there. Like, this is what I stand on, this is what I bump into, and so on. As long as that's there, that was the important thing for that stage. Yeah, no, so it was fun. I'd kind of come to each level and go, all right, you know, I think I'm going to make a kind of a horizontal level. Yeah, exactly. So, and I kind of designed it a screen at a time.
Yeah,
so
you come up with an idea of the basic level, and then, okay, I want to do that.
Is that what you found with Shifting Worlds as well? You kind of like
sometimes actually both an idea. Kind of that working flow sometimes, and that sometimes I had an idea for a specific piece of level and say, okay, I want to do that and try it, and then if it didn't fit in a particular level, you reuse it for another one, and kind of building pieces that are squashed together and then made the level out of it.
Did you find like each time you made a level, the approach was completely different? Or did you have a certain like, this is how I make levels and this is the process I go through?
No, it's basically the same thing.
It's random every time.
Random sometimes, and say, okay, I had this idea on paper, I'm just going to implement it, and there's no real process. Just, I guess, again, you need to have tools to be creative with, and then once you have the tools, you can use your creativity on it, and you don't really need anything else. Totally. Except, you know, the basic idea saying, okay, let's be creative on it.
And that's what I found as well. I think at the beginning I thought, hey, let's figure out a process. How am I going to approach these levels? And to some degree I did. I kind of created an Excel spreadsheet, very exciting, of where the enemies were introduced and stuff like that. So I kind of saw the curve of where enemies were used, where they existed, which was very handy for, hey, I want to make a level for World 3. Therefore, this is my little tool set, my little ingredients I can use in this world kind of thing. And so that was handy. But yeah, from a and that's just a logistical thing.
But you have to have it. Like even for a hardcore game, and like when you go back to the roots of the video gaming with a game that's a bit more difficult, you need to have a progression, difficulty curve, even if it goes up or
even if it's
way faster.
Yes, exactly.
You need to have your list of elements with which you're gonna play to make your difficulty go up. We use the same thing for Shifting World, where we did a list of the various mechanics we had in the game. Some mechanics when you go can directly go to the other car without using shift, stuff like that.
Right.
And we made the list. We say, okay, for this world we're gonna introduce this one, and then for the next one this one. So it's a bit more forgiving on the difficulty curve, but saying as you know, it's difficult concepts for some people to wrap their heads around. You know, using the shift and shift from black to white and using the other color. So I guess it was needed.
Yeah, definitely. And difficulty curve is an interesting thing. Like you'll play some games, and each level will introduce, and that's I don't think with either one of our games. I'm talking about other games. They'll introduce a new thing each level, but never give you the chance to really explore that new thing. And I think that's what's really clever about a lot of the classic games is you'll introduce a challenge. It may be as simple as I can jump up a platform, or there's a moving platform, there's an enemy, whatever. Something very simple challenge, and you face it, and you're like, oh, cool, I overcame that, great. And then maybe a couple of levels later, you'll face a similar challenge, but there's a new element to it. Maybe it's just a spacing thing, maybe there's an additional thing thrown in. It could be very simple, but now it's like, I recognize it, but there's something else.
Twist. Exactly. And you have to, again, wrap your head around the different direction it's taking you in, and say, okay.
It's fun. It's ironic actually, because I think from the player's point of view, it's exciting because they get to, hey, I know this, but there's something new here. So they feel like that they've learned something, they're gaining knowledge, they're getting better, but they're still being entertained and challenged. And from our point of view, we get to really milk an idea and really get a lot out of it. You know, which is entertaining for us. You know, like, here's this idea, I like that idea, I'd like to reuse that as many times as possible in unique ways, which is fun for us from a creating point of view. But I think
I like
it's
the
good for
verb
the player.
milking you use for that, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we did basically the same thing for Shifting World. I mean, when you say milking an idea, it's like taking it to its full potential, like going 100% with it and running with it. And we for the various mechanics we inserted in the game, apart from the shifting mechanics and the various mechanics to implement puzzles in it, we also try to make the most out of it, saying, okay, we're gonna. And sometimes it was putting them together and trying to find blocks and say, okay, this mechanic with this one, if we mix them together, we can have this situation. It's going to be interesting for the player. It's going to be fun to play.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree totally. Now, from an art point of view, Shifting Worlds has a really cool, unique style. The whole black and white thing going on. It was, what led to that decision?
Well, basically, we had how am I going to say that? The license. We had the license of the original.
Right, that's right.
Flash
game. This is an enhanced version of.
Exactly, it was basically a Flash game at first, and so we made a few versions out of it for different consoles, for iPhone and stuff. And once we had the idea of making a version for the 3DS, we had to wrap our heads around using the 3D for it.
Right.
So it was was challenging and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
I like the art style. I mean, I think it's important. Art style is another important factor of of games, because like when I see screenshots of Shifting World, I know it's Shifting World. I mean, boom, it's very distinct. I think that's another key element. That's something went for in Mudds as well. Let's go for something really blocky, really pixely.
Exactly.
Love the pixel. Don't shy away from it. Don't blur it out. Just boom. Here's a big old square.
Good old-fashioned.
Exactly.
8-bit games.
And I think that's really another. Cool. For me, it goes hand in hand with game design. I mean, they're not. One's not more important than the other. They're just equal. And if you can get both right, they can really be, a wonderful experience.
Yeah, because there's so much way to get it wrong, actually. To build a game design and the artistic direction is not going to follow it.
Right.
And when you get it right, when you have something like the pixel art and the way it plays with the layers, or have that black and white mechanic and the way you have the mechanic of shifting around it.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a nice sync. Yeah,
exactly.
It feels good.
It feels good. It's exciting to work around such a mechanic and having the two of them flow together, both the art and the game design. It's exciting.
Yeah, cool.
It's cool.
But I mean, the way Mudds came about, which was interesting, is originally it was a 3D platformer for the DS a few years ago, and then it didn't really happen, basically. So I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then one day I was like, hey, let's do a pixel version of Max. That'd be cool. Why not? And it turned out pretty cool, and I was like, oh, that's neat. And we were working on a 2D platform game at the time. It wasn't Mutant Mudds, and it was just a nice kind of chance thing where just a little flash of inspiration one day. Hey, let's do a Max in pixel form, and that kind of it completely changed the direction of the entire game. We were working on something else completely different, not Mutant Mudds related, and it's amazing how that one little sprite, one little frame, completely changed the destiny, I guess, of that game or whatever. Which is fascinating, which is nice when you're creating a game that's original, it's not license based, someone's not paying you to do it, you're just making a game because you want to make a game. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing when creativity guides it. It's not money, marketing, publishers, etc. The market. Do
it for your own pleasure and say, okay, I just want to do a game, and I mean, of course, you still have the I would say timelines to follow and the deadlines to meet, but otherwise it's fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, that's an unfortunate reality. That's a good point, actually.
But,
the production side, in my mind, is also equally as important as like the design side, and that's...
You have to mix the two together, but otherwise it's a very nice adventure, actually.
Yeah, because if you run out of time, the game suffers.
Exactly.
If you sometimes have too much time, the game can suffer because feature creep can happen. It can get kind of crazy.
Yeah, sometimes getting your head around the design, like going back to the because you talked about what drove you to make the game. And when we started development on Shifting World, so it was the basic idea was making shift in 3D with the 3D mechanic of the layer.
Right.
And then we had a period of quite a few weeks long when we tried to wrap our head around the concept of using the 3D layer in when you were in the other color.
Right.
Right, because in Shift you can be in white and you can be in black. And there were so many different perception of how it could look, you know. And we prototype and eventually we found the best way to represent it. But it took a long time and it took a lot of
It is funny because what's nice about games is you see the final result. It's all clean, wrapped up, nice little bow on top. But it's amazing how some of the simplest little things can take so much time and so much heartache to get that one little thing right. And it's usually a core integral factor, but it's amazing.
And you just have to keep working on it and follow your vision.
Muscle through it.
Yeah,
stick to the original vision.
Exactly.
It's hard.
But I think follow your vision is actually a pretty good advice for students maybe. If they have an idea, they feel it's like, okay, it's going to be the best game in the world, and maybe it's not, maybe it is for them, and just for them to follow the vision and make it through, just keep believing in what you're doing, I guess.
I think that's the key. I mean, with everything that's difficult...
But yes, it's that.
Right. I mean, I think with everything that's difficult or scary, it's that first step is the hardest step to take. It's never a good time. It's never going to get easier.
No,
it's always
going to be hard.
It's always going to be hard, so you just have to do it. If you're going to do it in your life ever, just do it. Today, tomorrow, just do it.
Exactly. Carpe diem, like I said.
And your first game may not be the ultimate best game in the world, but it might be. But you will never know if you don't try. You know, maybe you'll have to go through a few games before you really get it.
You have to do it just to be sure. I mean, you don't do it, you're never going to be sure that it was a good game or a good idea or bad idea. You know? You're just going to stay on the back of your mind forever, and you'll never know. The only way to know is just do it.
Exactly.